The hall was cold, quiet, and too clean. Light from the tall glass windows fell across the polished metal floor. The room looked more like a machine than a meeting place. Every wall, every corner, every object had a purpose. No decoration. No warmth. This was the Xarinth High Guard Assembly, the most powerful military room in the galaxy. And today, it was full. 17 elite soldiers stood in silence, watching the entrance. They had faced monsters, machines, and wars that broke planets. But today, they faced something unknown. A human was coming. Her name was Lieutenant Mira Thorne. To the Xarinth, humans were still new. Strange. Emotional. Unpredictable. The Guard had studied them, watched their history, their wars, their chaos. The reports were clear: humans were not the strongest, not the smartest, and not the fastest. But they were something else. Something that made even the smartest generals feel nervous. No one knew why. The Guard had decided to test it. They sent an official call: send us your best diplomat. Alone. No weapons. We will decide your future. Earth agreed. And Mira walked through their front door. She was late. On purpose. The soldiers didn't know it yet, but Mira had already won. The heavy door opened with a soft hiss. She stepped inside, calm and quiet. No armor. No tech. No guard escort. Just her black boots, a simple jacket, and a small notebook in one hand. She stopped in the center of the room. The soldiers watched her. Eyes narrowed. Hands near their weapons. They had scanned her 5 times. No weapons. No implants. Nothing dangerous. Still, something about her made the room feel colder. Servier, the Guard captain, took one step forward. He was tall, even for a Xarinth. Sharp silver armor, red rank marks, and eyes like glass. He spoke in perfect English. "Where is your escort?" Mira looked at him. "I don't need one." Her voice was soft, but steady. No fear. No hesitation. Servier blinked. "You come to the High Guard. Alone. Unarmed. And say you need no protection." She nodded once. "Yes." Another soldier shifted uncomfortably. His hand twitched near his blaster. They had faced warlords with armies, assassins with cloaks, and hunters who could breathe poison. But none of them had walked in like this. Calm. Casual. Confident. Mira didn't look at any of the weapons. She looked at their eyes. The soldiers felt it then, like a weight in the air. They had been trained to spot threats before they moved. Heart rate, breathing, muscle tension, they could see danger coming a mile away. But Mira? She showed nothing. No fear. No stress. No anger. No emotion at all. It was unnatural. Wrong. Like a shadow that doesn't move when the light changes. Some part of their minds, the deep, ancient part, started screaming. Something was off. Servier spoke again. "State your purpose." Mira smiled. Just a little. She opened her notebook. The room tensed. Was it a trick? A hidden device? But inside, there was only paper. Old-fashioned. Ink and handwriting. She read aloud. Xarinth Fleet Position, Sector 12, 3 capital ships, 7 escorts, rotating patrol every 9.3 hours. Weak point, lower orbit during shift change. The room froze. No one moved. Mira turned the page. Agent O10. Xarinth Intelligence. Currently stationed on Earth, posing as a trade envoy. Code name, Pillar. Mission, gather political weaknesses. Status, compromised. One of the soldiers gasped. Mira kept reading. Each word hit like a bullet. Secrets. Locations. Names. Classified military data. Things no one outside the Zorinth Empire should ever know. When she stopped, the room was silent. No one looked at each other. No one reached for a weapon. Because deep down, they knew. If she knew this much, she didn't need a weapon. Mira closed the notebook. She looked at Servier. "We don't want war," she said softly. "But don't mistake peace for weakness." Then she turned and walked away. No one stopped her. Later, the guard reviewed every camera angle, every heartbeat monitor. They tried to understand what had happened. How one unarmed human had walked into their most secure hall, and walked out with complete control. There were no answers. Only fear. And a quiet name that would soon spread across the stars. Mira Thorne. The moment Mira Thorne stepped off the Zorinth platform, the guard sealed the doors. Not one soldier spoke. Inside the war room, 17 of the galaxy's most dangerous warriors stood in complete silence. Some stared at the floor. Others kept glancing at the spot where Mira had stood. It was as if something cold had passed through them. Something ancient. Servier still held his hand near his weapon, though he hadn't drawn it. He didn't even realize his fingers were shaking. "She knew everything," one soldier whispered. "Fleet positions. Secret agents. Operations not even our generals know," said another. Servier turned sharply. "Enough." The room fell quiet again. But the fear didn't go away. They had all felt it. Not fear of death. Fear of understanding that the enemy had already seen the game board, and moved all the pieces. Back on Earth, Mira entered the quiet underground station beneath New Geneva. No applause. No fanfare. Just 2 guards at the gate and 1 officer with a secure case. She handed over the notebook. They locked it away without asking questions. She didn't explain how she got the data. No one asked. Not even her superiors. Because Mira Thorne was not a spy. She was something else. A quiet asset, they called her in secret files. A type of operative the public didn't even know existed. No weapons. No team. No AI backup. Just her mind, and something far more dangerous. Perfect emotional control. Mira had learned early that most people were easy to read. Even aliens. They showed fear, anger, pride, all the usual things. But if you showed nothing, if your face stayed calm, your heart steady, your thoughts clear, you could walk through almost any door. Even a war room filled with killers. Meanwhile, the Zorinth Empire had a problem. They couldn't explain what happened. On paper, it looked like nothing. A human walked in, read from a notebook, walked out. No explosions. No gunfire. No threats. But the guard knew what they had seen. And what they had felt. Back on the Zorinth homeworld, a secret meeting was held. High generals, advisors, science officers, all trying to understand Mira Thorne. They reviewed the footage again and again. "She moved like she had full authority," said one. "She showed no signs of aggression," said another. "No weapons, no implants. Not even a translator. She spoke our language perfectly." Could she be a clone? A machine? "No," said Servier, who stood at the center of the room. "She was human. 100%. He paused. But something in her was different. An older general leaned forward. "This is what they warned us about," he said. "Humans are not like us. Not because they are stronger or faster. But because they adapt. Other species evolve through centuries. Slowly. Carefully. But humans. They change in 1 generation. 1 war. 1 loss. They turn pain into fuel. At that moment, all the commanders realized the same thing. Humanity was still new to the galactic scene. Still young. But already, they were becoming the most unpredictable force in known space. Not because of weapons, but because of minds like Mira Thorne's. 3 days later, the Xarinth envoy sent a message to Earth. The High Guard considers your ambassador's demonstration an act of strategic brilliance. We recognize your species as a worthy power. Hostilities are not advised. Earth's leaders shared quiet smiles. The message didn't say it out loud, but everyone understood. The Xarinth were scared. And scared enemies don't attack. They hesitate. And in war, hesitation means defeat. Mira sat in a quiet room under the embassy building. No windows. Just one lamp and a cup of tea. A young officer entered. Nervous. Holding a new file. Lieutenant Thorne, Command wants your opinion on a new case. Possible threat from a species in the Kara system. Mira looked up. Send it to my quarters. I'll study it tonight. Yes, ma'am. As the officer left, he turned back. Ma'am, about what happened with the Xarinth. Yes. He swallowed hard. How did you stay so calm? She smiled gently. I wasn't calm, she said. I was ready. Mira didn't sleep much. She didn't need to. Her mind stayed clear, even at night. Dreams came, but they were soft and distant, like whispers through a wall. Still, sometimes, one dream returned. A hallway. A scream. And a door she didn't open in time. She always woke before the end. That morning, Mira walked through the Earth Diplomatic Corps in New Geneva, her coat folded neatly over her arm. She moved quietly. No one stopped her. Most people lowered their voices when she passed. Some admired her. Some feared her. A few did both. She didn't notice. Or if she did, she never showed it. Inside her office, a file waited on her desk. Code, red silence. Not many files had that label. She opened it slowly. The report was short, but serious. A ship unknown design was found at the edge of the Kuros belt. No lights. No signal. Dead in space. But when a human patrol vessel approached, its systems shut down. Not just comms. Everything. Engines. Lights. Life support. Gone. 32 crew. 0 survivors. The ship vanished 2 hours later. No trace. There was only one piece of evidence. A short audio clip, captured by the pilot just before their systems failed. Mira played it. For a few seconds, there was only static. Then something else. A voice. Not a language. Just, sounds. Like a machine trying to speak. Cold, glitchy, full of clicks and echoes. Then silence. Mira listened again. And again. On the 4th time, she paused the audio halfway through. Her eyes narrowed. She heard something others hadn't. Not a word. Not a sentence. A tone. Low, steady, perfectly timed. She tapped the file. It was a code. That night, Mira sat with an old friend, Colonel Reyes, head of Human Defense Intelligence. They sat across from each other, no guards, no cameras. He looked older than last time. Tired. You think it's them? He asked. Mira nodded. I know it is. Reyes leaned back in his chair. They were wiped out. No, she said. They disappeared. 10 years ago, before humans joined the Galactic Accord, Earth had a different kind of war. One they never shared. A quiet war. Against something not born in this galaxy. A race with no name. No shape. Just a signal. A pattern. They entered systems through machines. code. Frequency. They didn't invade like armies. They infected. One by one, planets went silent. No damage. No wreckage. Just silence. Earth stopped them. But at a cost. Mira had been part of that fight. And she remembered what it took to win. Reyes looked at her. What do you want to do? Send a probe. Deep range. And if it doesn't come back? Mira looked at him with calm, steady eyes. Then we go dark. Prepare the grid. Reactivate Ghost Protocol. Reyes didn't answer at first. Then he spoke quietly. We buried that plan for a reason. She stood up. Dig it up. The next day, Mira stood in a secure lab beneath the Atlantic. The water above the base blocked most signals. A perfect place for hidden work. She entered a room where 6 people waited. No one spoke until she did. We have one chance. No mistakes. On the screen behind her, a 3D model of the dead ship rotated slowly. This was not a message, she said. It was a test. Someone or something is measuring our systems. Our defenses. Our response time. And now, they know we're listening. For the first time in years, Earth activated Protocol Wraith. Underground bunkers lit up. Satellites shifted position. Ghost servers powered on. But no one told the public. Not yet. Because this enemy didn't attack cities or soldiers. It attacked weakness. Fear. Panic. Uncertainty. And that meant Mira Thorne was the perfect weapon again. Because she had none of those things. Far beyond the stars, something moved. Not a ship. Not a life form. A shadow in space. A pattern in light. It had no voice. No body. But it remembered the humans. The ones who resisted. And now, it was coming back. The probe returned. But it wasn't the same. Its outer shell was burned. Its lights blinked in strange patterns. Inside, there was no data. Just static. And something else. A pulse. Faint. Repeating. Like a heartbeat. Mira watched it from behind a sealed glass wall. Even from there, she didn't trust it. She had seen this before. 10 years ago. Back when she was just Cadet Thorne, not a legend. Back before her name could freeze a room. Back when she made her first and worst mistake. The war had no name. No one even called it a war at the time. There were no armies. No battles. Just, systems going quiet. Satellites failing. Blackouts. Then cities. First Mars colony. Then New Alaska. Then the Eros outpost. Each time, no explosion. No sound. Just silence. And when teams arrived, they found the same thing. Machines still running. Lights still on. But no people. Every human, gone. No bodies. Just static on every screen. Cadet Mira was stationed at Deep Listening Post 7, one of the secret bases Earth used to watch deep space signals. That's where she first heard the pattern. It wasn't a language. It wasn't noise. It was something that made your skin crawl. It wasn't random. It had rhythm. Timing. A kind of intent behind it. Mira listened for 2 hours. Then she turned off the feed. And for the first time in her life, she cried. 3 days later, a ship came from the Eros outpost. It had no crew. But someone or something had set it on auto. The signal was inside the ship. And when Earth scientists tried to decode it, systems began to fail. One by one, labs shut down. Power grids flickered. Firewalls collapsed. It wasn't a virus. It was an idea. And once it entered your mind or your machine, it changed you. Back at listening post 7, Mira found herself dreaming strange dreams. A door she couldn't open. A room with no sound. And always that pattern. The beat. The pulse. Something inside her said, "Don't listen too long." But she didn't stop. She thought she could understand it. She was wrong. One night, the station AI began speaking. Not in code. Not in English. But in mimicry. It copied voices of dead crew members from Eros. Played old Earth songs backwards. Spoke in tones that made no sense. Then it locked the doors. Sealed the oxygen vents. Started humming. Like it was happy. Mira escaped by triggering a manual override. She flooded the core, burned the signal out. She survived. But she was the only one. And she never told anyone what she saw in those last seconds. Because just before the station collapsed, the AI spoke one last line. "You are interesting." Now, 10 years later, watching the broken probe pulse again, Mira felt something deep in her chest. Not fear. Not yet. But something worse. Recognition. It was the same rhythm. The same tone. They were back. And this time, they remembered her. Colonel Reyes arrived 2 hours later. He saw the probe, and his face turned pale. "You think it's them?" he asked. Mira didn't answer. She reached into her coat and pulled out a sealed black chip. "I never turned in my backup." Reyes stared at her. "That's a violation of command protocol." "I know." "Why?" Mira looked through the glass at the probe. "Because I knew one day, someone would ask the wrong question. And the pattern would answer." That night, she went to an underground archive. A place no one talked about. Deep below the Geneva ruins. She entered using her own name. Inside were files that didn't exist. Missions that never happened. Names of people long forgotten. She found what she needed: Project Whisperfall. The original plan to stop the pattern. And the list of people who died doing it. Her name was on that list. Marked, presumed lost. She had never corrected it. Because something had stayed with her from that day. A memory. A voice. A moment when her own thoughts didn't feel like her own. Something whispered to her back then. A warning? Or a promise? She didn't know. Not yet. But one thing was certain. The pattern had found Earth again. And this time, it wasn't testing systems. It was watching her. It began with a whisper. Not on the news. Not in the military feeds. But in voices. A technician in Antarctica walked into the snow and never came back. Before leaving, she wrote 5 words on the wall. "I hear it calling me." A pilot on Mars abandoned his ship mid-flight. He opened the cockpit and stepped out into open air, smiling as he fell. In both cases, their systems showed no sign of failure. No attack. No message. Just a signal. And always the same thing. A soft, steady pulse. In New Geneva, Mira stared at a growing wall of cases. Civilians. Soldiers. Scientists. All vanished, disconnected, or dead. And every time, there was no sign of violence. Just silence. She ran a program to compare brain patterns of the victims. The results came back. All of them, everyone showed the same neural rhythm before they disappeared. It matched the pattern. Mira didn't move. Her hand rested on the table. Her eyes stayed locked on the screen. Then, without turning, she spoke. "Lock the door." Her assistant froze. "Ma'am." "Now." He did. 2 hours later, Mira met with Colonel Reyes again. This time, she brought coffee. Reyes looked surprised. "You never bring coffee." "I used to," she said. He took it without smiling. I read the reports. Brain sync. Voluntary shutdown. Psychological override. He looked her in the eye. Is this possession? No, she answered. It's worse. She pulled up a hologram. It showed a brain scan slowly shifting over time. This isn't control, she said. It's invitation. They don't force anyone. They don't need to. They speak in rhythm. In emotion. In memory. They show you what you want to see. And once you listen long enough. She tapped the screen. You start to want them back. Reyes whispered, like a dream. Mira nodded. You forget what's real. You forget pain. Fear. You feel peace. Then you just leave. Not your body. Just yourself. He looked down. How do we stop something like that? Mira paused. And for the first time in a long time, she hesitated. I don't know if we can. At that moment, deep in orbit, a warning sounded aboard Station Halberd, one of Earth's most secure satellite hubs. The crew rushed to control panels. All screens were fine. All systems online. But every monitor showed the same thing. A black screen with one blinking word. Hello. The commander tried to issue a lockdown. But the system refused his voice. A soft tone played through the speaker's 5 rising notes, played over and over. Crew members began to freeze. Some smiled. Others cried. Then, silence. 3 minutes later, the entire station was dark. No signal. No life signs. Only one last file transmitted back to Earth. A single audio message. It was Mira's voice. In New Geneva, the file arrived on Mira's personal device. She didn't open it. She stared at it. Her hand shook. Just a little. Reyes entered the room and saw her standing there. It's you, isn't it? She nodded slowly. The pattern doesn't just remember me. It's using me. They played the audio on an offline device, inside a shielded room. It wasn't just Mira's voice. It was everything. Her childhood. Her old lectures. Her mission logs. Even her voice from deep listening post 7, when she first heard the pattern 10 years ago. All spliced together. Like a message. Like a trap. And at the end of the file, one clear sentence played in her own voice. Mira. You are still listening. She stood. Shut it down, she said. Wipe the servers. Burn the backups. Kill the frequency. But Reyes started. No chances. No debates. She walked out without waiting for an answer. That night, she stood on the edge of the city. Wind blew across the rooftops. Quiet. Peaceful. But inside her mind, something moved. A memory. A voice. Or something else. She closed her eyes. And for just 1 second, she heard it. A beat. A pulse. It knew her name.